next one is called What It Takes to Compete and Win on Customer Experience in this 21st Century. It'll be hosted by Mr. Ken Rutkowski, co-owner and host of business Rockstars. Let me read you a bit of his bio because I think it's great. It makes him sound like a force of nature. Mr. Ken Rutkowski is an ideation, innovation, and collaboration catalyst, the connective tissue between change agents, and a community architect for doers shaping our future. He does this across multiple channels, including his syndicated radio show, Business Rockstars, and also his weekly event, METAL, M-E-T-A-L. It stands for Media, Entertainment, and Technology Alpha Leaders. So let me welcome to the stage Mr. Ken Rutkowski.
Thanks a lot. Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's great to see you all here. So my name's Ken. I do a regular daily radio show in Los Angeles. So on about 20 different markets throughout the LA area, about 4.5 million daily listeners to a show all around the idea of business rock stars. So what we do is we get people to understand what it takes to become a rock star in business. Now, that's what I'm doing now. I've been doing a lot of different things over the last several years. My show features a lot of talent. Akon is on my show often. A lot of rock stars in the music industry come on the show because we believe that everybody in music should act like an entrepreneur. So we kind of mix things up. It's going quite well. But really, if I want to take you back for a second, I was the first podcaster. Back in 1994, I was the first to stream over the web. I started my radio show back then. This is an article several years later. But I was the one who really started the whole idea of the trend of broadcasting via the net. I saw an opportunity. Didn't make much money at first doing this, but I did see it as a trend, and I jumped on that bandwagon. I have a tendency to see trends. I have a tendency to know where things are going. Matter of fact, Eric Schmidt, back then was the CEO of Google, and I asked him a very important question.
Video broadcasting.
Eric, easy question. What is Web 3.0? We know what 2.0 is. We're moving in 3.0. I know you probably have a lot of sound bites on that. But what does Google see Web 3.0 to be?
Well, Web 2.0 is a marketing term, and I think you've just invented Web 3.0.
So I'm ahead of the game, obviously, because I invented Web 3.0, according to Eric Schmidt. So I know where things are going. And I want to at least give you some insight to different trends that are happening right now that you may not be aware of. And I decided to take it in a different approach. First, who here feels they're extremely smart? Really smart. Okay, you guys aren't participating at all. Let me just tell you what happened to me. So I used to live in San Francisco, sold a few companies during the dot-com craze, and all of a sudden AOL buys Time Warner. The world was upside down. And my friend says, you need to go south. I go, I need to go San Francisco to LA, why? He goes, the main reason is because you need to go where there isn't a lot of super smart people. I go, really, LA? He goes, that's where you gotta go. You gotta go to LA because the brains aren't there. I go, what's the advantage of being where the brains aren't? He goes, well, it's pretty easy. Start analyzing high IQ people and where they congregate and what they do. So I did. So I went and looked at the highest IQ people on the planet. These are the 4 smartest people in the world. And just to give you an idea, they all have IQs that range between 230 to about 170. Smartest people on the planet. I want you to understand what their jobs are. They're very comfortable, consistent jobs. Academia and NASA, different space programs. They're not entrepreneurs. They're not taking massive risks. Their job is to use their intellect to move forward. That's what they do. So if you start looking at, like, for example, this guy right here, he is the richest, highest IQ billionaire. That's Paul Allen. Paul Allen is literally, with his IQ, at the highest echelon at 170. There is no other billionaire above Paul Allen. No one. Paul is it. He's at the top, and he's a rare find, by the way. So if you really go pay attention to the idea of who's smart, and we use IQ as an indicator, let's just kind of graph this out for a second. So if we take, again, let's go to the Terrence, who's the smartest guy on the planet, sitting up there on the top. Let's go over to Paul Allen. Equal to Paul Allen would be Stephen Hawking, and it'd be Albert Einstein. That's equal to Paul Allen. Let me drop down for a second. I want you to look at John F. Kennedy. He had a 117 IQ. Look at Howard Stern. He has a 99 IQ. I'm going to blow your mind on the next one. Richard Branson has a 91 IQ. 91 IQ. So if you look at these groups here, you break them up between these 2 areas, you're going to have up on the top, these right here, 160 plus, these are the fear of risk zone. Down here, these are the ones that are willing to jump out of the plane and check later on if they have a parachute. Okay? They're the ones that love taking risks. They're the ones that are moving forward on a regular basis. So if you look at the two different areas, for example, let's pay attention to the operation side, and let's call them the leader side. Let's break it down a little deeper. Let's look at the smart people, what they build. They build platforms. And then the leaders, well, they build followings and communities. Now let's replace it with people. Let's put brands up there. Let's do the same thing. Let's go to the smart zone. So that's our smart zone. That's our platforms. Those are the ones that are saying, hey, we have a platform, stick stuff inside us. And then we go look at, let's call it the leader zone. They're the ones saying, hey, we're creating stuff. The biggest problem is when one or the other goes in the wrong zone. I am so sorry to say this because I know they're a sponsor. When I heard Samsung yesterday talk about their new video platform, I'm thinking, no, you're a platform. Don't go into the other zone. You're in the wrong zone. Microsoft did this. They failed. Every one of these players on the top have tried to make content, and they fail. Don't do that. And the other way around, too. They try to become a platform. You can't do that. You can't cross them. And they constantly do that. They waste tons of money, and it looks bad on them. So I just want you to understand the differences between the zones as we see. So let's step back a little different. Does everybody know what a watershed moment is? A watershed moment is when a river goes into two different points. 2 different points, a watershed moment. Well, something has recently happened at the Upfronts, which is in New York a couple of weeks ago. Upfronts is obviously the TV industry, the content industry. This is what happened. It's pretty interesting.
So right now, what the big news is, internet and digital advertising exceeded the volume of network television advertising for the first time in history. It did in the United States, it did in the UK, and it's done it in Canada.
Is that the watershed moment you're talking about?
This is the watershed, yes, because it's the beginning of the sunset for network television.
Wow. It's the beginning of the sunset for network television because digital, interactive have finally eclipsed the advertising markets in those markets right there. That's powerful. It's taken a long time, but it really hasn't. It's done it in a very short period of time. And what's really leading these trends? Let's understand this watershed moment is all around what's going on with TV. TV's going through a big change. And TV's saying, well, wait a second, we have to figure out and somehow compete against what's going on the digital side. So they're looking towards the whole mini-series, the telenovas, mini-series, dramas. This is what worked in the past. TV is saying, let's try the old. Let's see if it works. Well, popular shows in the past, you had Shogun, which was one of the most popular television TV shows. Another one called The Thornbirds, which was one of the most popular. The most popular ever of a miniseries was actually called Roots. Roots was the most popular, came out in 1977. ABC did it. What's interesting about it, it got 9 Emmy Awards. It cost, well, first let me tell you what it brought in. It brought in 71 million viewers, and it cost only, come on, bring it up. It's going to be there, there it is, $6.6 million. That's what it cost. ABC and all the networks are saying, you know what, hey, let's go back to 1977. Look what we did. Maybe what we got to do is we got to kind of think about the old. So what we should do is, well, why not? Let's reboot Roots. Let's go back to a show in 1977. Let's kind of fix it up, and let's move forward. Let's try that out. It's a horrible idea. They're lucky if they get 7 million viewers. They're lucky. But then all of a sudden, if you look at the upfronts, one smash hit was being talked about. It was really interesting. I'm not sure if you can see the name of it. It's all around how Jane is the virgin. What is this? Well, this is the show.
This fall,
Jane, when you lose your virginity, you can't ever go back.
Jane made a promise.
Stop! We should stop! You've been dating for 2 years and you haven't boned.
But sometimes life...
You're pregnant.
But I've never had sex!
...makes a surprise delivery.
I accidentally inseminated you 2 weeks ago.
You what? I'm not ready to be a mom.
You have become the best part of my life, and this will be the best part of your life, too.
Jane the Virgin. Series premiere coming this fall to the CW.
What? This was the talk. This show they're excited about. Obviously, it's a telenova taken from Brazil, by the way. It's been refashioned for the U.S. market. Why is this show being talked about? Why are people excited about it? Well, let's go look at some demographics. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to use some U.S. statistics. The average American watches 5 hours of TV a day. Pretty lazy country, right? What gets even more interesting is this. If you really want to drill down a little further, let's look at what's going on with the under 35 market. And the last panel actually brought this up, and it was the right point. Under 35, 35 and under, and this is really important. If they're connected, if they have some type of device, they are consuming not what the average is consuming, they're actually consuming at 90 minutes of TV a day. Huge drop. The minute you start incorporating their interactivity and put it all together, you're looking at about maybe 3 hours a day. So networks are going, wait a second, we can't be creating just TV content. We have to figure out something that goes, well, beyond this. So what TV is looking at doing is they're trying to figure a way to do what they're doing online more aggressively. For example, Al Jazeera, every show they do, moments later appear online, their entire shows. Same thing with Bloomberg. Bloomberg's doing the same thing. Every single one of their shows, including live, is all available online. Bloomberg is saying, well, maybe we should focus specifically just online. So then one of the top guys in television, his name is Les Moonves. Les Moonves made a pretty big announcement last week. This is what CBS is planning on doing.
I've been hearing that CBS News is thinking about launching a CBSNews.com site that would basically be sort of a rival in the cable news space, and you would go straight to digital as opposed to going via cable.
Correct.
Is it true?
Yeah, look, we're not in the cable space, obviously, and there are already too many players there for us to start a brand new cable network. So we thought with all the content going digital right now, wouldn't it be a good idea to do a 24-hour digital channel? Taking all the resources that CBS News has, and you were part of it in the not too distant past, all over the world, and there's so much information that we get every day that doesn't fit into a 22-minute newscast at 6:30 or CBS This Morning. Yeah. So we can do that. We can go direct digital. So that's in the early stages under the tutelage of David Rhodes, the president of CBS News, and it's an exciting alternative to cable news. You know, so
how quickly might something like that be up and running?
We don't have a timetable yet. We're discussing it right now with some of the internet companies out there to see who wants to be our partner, and there's a great deal of interest in that. You know, they know the brand of CBS News is very strong, very important, and we don't have a cable news partner as some of the other companies do.
Very important what he said. We're looking for partners. We're not thinking about doing this alone. Maybe we should be talking to the ones that have the traffic, the audience. Maybe we should be talking to I don't know, a Machinima or a Maker Studio or something out there that actually has an existing track record of gravitating that audience that sits out there, that sits on the web. Smart move by Les. He also, there's a big fight in the United States right now all around something called Aereo, which is grabbing free television access and broadcasting across the country. And they're all upset because it's jumping over their local advertisers. But Les is creating something fascinating. So we know that TV right now is scared to death. And when anyone's scared, they start making interesting decisions. So I want you to think about the social media sphere right now. When I say social, we all think of very certain platforms. I want to say first, YouTube is the platform that goes across all age groups. It goes from seasoned citizens all the way down to kids. It crosses everything. It is the Uber of all social platforms. Google, of course, is the top search engine out there. YouTube is number 2. We seem to neglect it. But then we start looking and break down a little more. Facebook is for old people like me. That's where old people hang out, and they do. They spend more time on Facebook than they do any other platform. Just want to let you know, if you're over 35 years old, you're old online, okay? We're old people, and boy, do we love Facebook, okay? Next after is obviously Twitter. I'm not a big Twitter fan because I look at things on where celebrities get created. Twitter's never created a celebrity. Celebrities use it. People use it as a platform. I think Twitter's going to go through a very interesting phase of really identifying itself, and there's some pivots. But there's that younger age group. They love Twitter. But remember, they identify who they are. Facebook, they identify they are. And then, of course, Instagram. Instagram, which is Facebook's, let me get it over there, which is Facebook, is that younger generation. They love Instagram. Now we got this whole new slew. By the way, identity, identity, identity. We kind of know who these people are. Now we have these new tools that are coming out. We have Secret, we have Whisper, and the one I think is pretty amazing is called Anonymous. These are anonymous apps. None of the identity of the individual is inside these apps. These are apps that younger kids love because they could be freer on the way they see things, how they identify stuff. And what's more interesting is nobody on the network sides are even going after this audience because, wait a second, we don't know who they are. Even though I think it's probably one of the most powerful audience sitting out there because they're going to be freer with their words and more upfront on where they like to see changes, modifications, enhancements. This is where the new space is. It's kind of shocking because we've gone from an area of not really knowing metrics to kind of knowing metrics to giving everybody unique identifiers and IDs and names to going back to an area to where we don't know who anybody is anymore. And these companies have pretty big valuations already, $200 to $400 million. It's all anonymous. Social media is going in a different direction now. We don't know who the people are on the other side, but we're getting better statistics from them. Higher, but check out Anonymous, it's pretty exciting. So if you go look at, like, for example, Sirius XM, which is a satellite provider in the United States just specific for music. If you look at Pandora, and if you go all the way back to the old MTV days, what these have done is they've identified something. Personalities sell. If you go look at the top stations over at Sirius, they're all around different personalities. They've really moved in this area to where you have Jimmy Buffett, Margaritaville, popular station. They have the Elvis Presley one. They have different personalities, specific zones. Same thing, Pandora. They've gone in this direction of more personalities. Pandora Radio, Slacker has done this. Personalities. And then MTV, when it first started, it was all around what the VJs said they liked. And everybody had to be part of that. Everybody wanted to do whatever they could to be part of what MTV did. So if we understand personality cell, I want to explain my kids real quick, because this is a good indicator for me. Normal kids, my daughter's 10, my son's 13. Yes, my daughter's Google Glasses. Completely useless to me. So, by the way, what's really great about Google Glasses for all parents is they take pictures when your kids blink. So I know when my daughter is looking at something over and over again, and I could identify it without her telling me. Really useful. But my daughter is constantly on her iPad, not watching things that you and I would normally watch. She watches this guy.
Gia, Nikolai, I know you guys are in that whole Minecraft thing. Now, there's this guy out there. His name is, well, I forget his name. It's Captain something. Who are you?
I'm Jordan.
Come
Captain
on.
Captain
Sparkles. Captain Sparkles. So here's
Captain Sparkles, 22 years old, 7.4 million subscribers, 1.4 billion views. Kid's 22 years old, lives in the Ritz-Carlton, has a Ferrari. This is one of those personalities like the old MTV days. This is what drives traffic. What Captain Sparkles says, kids follow. He is a religion to my daughter. She knows him better than her own religion. It blows my mind. And it's not just Captain Sparkles. Let's go look at this guy, obviously PewDiePie. If you haven't seen PewDiePie, if you don't know who PewDiePie is, you are not in the now. Because PewDiePie is bigger than most networks. Almost 27 million subscribers, 4.4 billion views. Plays 2 games a day. That's all he does. Sits back and plays games. This kid controls the masses. If you remember, we had the platforms and then we had the leaders. He was one of those leaders. He is going to define the direction in the pace. Now we know that MTV worked well. We know that Sirius XM's doing a good job. Pandora's doing a good job. So maybe what we need to do is we need to start understanding it's time to kind of go back to the past, those ideas that used to work, and apply them to the new technologies and platforms that are out there today. Because when I was young, when our parents were young, if you could get on the Ed Sullivan Show, Dick Clark, or somebody named Wolfman Jack, you've made it. Because they would touch the masses. Beatles went on Ed Sullivan, that was it. If you got on anything to do with Dick Clark, you made it. And Wolfman Jack was all the independent indie stuff. It was all about that. Today, obviously, it's a little different. Today, it's about being recognized by them. The YouTube stars, the ones that actually control what our kids are watching. Advertisers love these because here it goes. They have real statistics that show consistency, predictability, and they can leverage it. Remember, YouTube is the prime of all social platforms. Everybody uses it, everybody desires it, and it works. So the whole idea of where social media is going, if you don't use anyone of a celebrity or build a celebrity around a certain brand, you're missing out on an opportunity, specifically if it's the interactive media side. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thanks for allowing me to speak. Thank you.